watching Seven River Sports here on KKBG. I'm your host, Terry Erickson. Each week, an inside look into sports, into wellness, into fitness. Great show here this week. We're catching up with the Kennedy boys from Luther High School. Oldest to youngest, starting with Christian Kennedy, Collin, and Ben Kennedy. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Well, all the way from Milwaukee, Wisconsin Lutheran College, here as we tape this show. Appreciate you coming all the way. And starting with you, Christian, let's go back in time a little bit. Now, you're a senior, so you played a few years ago at Luther. But it just seems like yesterday when I was officiating watching you play. And wow, when you think of what you did at Luther, you made a huge difference. Do you have some good reflections of your playing days?
Yeah, it's it's been 5 years, so it's crazy to think of that. Time's gone so fast. But I definitely think about it a lot. I stay in close contact with my teammates that I have played with at Luther. One of my close friends, Zach Monsky, is actually getting married in June, so it's kind of crazy that time's gone by so fast. But yeah, we always reflect on it. We have sometimes at alumni tournaments we go back and get to play with each other, and it's always a great time just getting back.
Well, when I think of you and the part you played in Luther night basketball, I think of you beginning sort of the resurrection of the program. I think of you as the catalyst for the up-tempo approach of Coach Brad Shopper. And you really were the beginning of that.
Yeah,
reflect on that.
It was fun because that's always something that we wanted to set as an example for the program. We wanted to use our athletes that we had. Collin came out of nowhere his junior year, and he continued that. The guards that we had, just being able to knock down shots and playing that fast-paced tempo, using our defense to create offense was just absolutely a blast to play in. And it was fun because then, you set that example for the younger guys coming through. Collin had a really great year his junior year, just because the guards were able to get him the ball playing that up-tempo style, and he used his speed rather than his size. So he was in that position.
And you made the statement to the media, and you made it to your coach, and you sort of you were confident and bold enough to say we're not losing anymore at Luther. We're making a big change, and it certainly you were part of that resurrection project. You talk about Collin. I know you were a multi-sport athlete. You were all-state, you were all-conference, so on, and your brothers too. But Collin, you academic standout, you were athletic standout, you were WBCA. You did about everything as your older brother did. And reflect on some of your accomplishments at Luther.
So Luther, it was a good time. Like my sophomore year, I didn't played a little bit, so that was like a good stepping stone. And then my junior and senior year, I kind of branched out and started doing a lot better. So that I really miss it. Like the players I was playing with, I really miss Coach Shopper. He's a great coach. Probably my favorite coach to this day. It was just a great experience, and I really look back to those days a lot.
Well, and your brother, 1,000 points. You were 12 points shy of 1,000 points. That maybe keeps you awake sometimes.
I missed a few games my senior year due to my ankle injury, so I missed about 7 games. So it still haunts me a little bit, but that's what college is for now. Well,
you were a multi-sport athlete. Here's what your coach said about you, Coach Shopper. Said the motor never quit with you. You always were at 100%, and you really had a hard time with those people that didn't, their motor was not running. You were a leader.
Yeah. Even now, Coach Jonathan tells me, you're always going 100 miles an hour, and that it's positive and negative because it can affect me, because sometimes when we need to slow down, I don't want to, but I don't know, I've always played high tempo, so it definitely helps.
And you have another uniqueness to your personality, and Coach Shopper, who's a friend of mine, said you enjoyed him getting on you.
Yeah.
And if he didn't get on you after one game, you asked him, Coach, how come he didn't get on me? Yeah. That's pretty unique.
Yeah, I always want him to be telling me what I can do better, how I can do better the next game, especially if I'm not doing something specifically, if I'm not rebounding enough, if I'm not going to the glass, I need him on me. it's like every time basically.
And of course, little brother Ben does not take a back seat to either brother. Like all three, played in the WBC All-Star game, all conference, lots of accolades in the classroom, on the floor, multi-sport athlete. You have some defining moments when you were in high school.
Yeah, sophomore year when I came in, I knew Collin, he was going to do his thing, so I had to learn a lot from him. I just had hit a big growth spurt, so I was still learning how to use my body, and knew I had to get a lot stronger. So I had more height than these guys did, so I just had to learn how to use that more. And my junior year, just really built myself up in the weight room, and just started using my body a lot better to just overpower most kids that I played against in the Coulee.
And Coach Shopper said you played with a great deal of energy and emotion, and you were a catalyst inside. You ran the floor well, just like your brothers, especially playing underneath. And you loved the game. You didn't like losing. And he told me there was an emotional moment at the end of your career when you lost. And you looked at him, and it was an uneasy situation because you knew it was over for both him and for you. Do you recall that?
Yeah, that was a really tough moment. I really wanted to bring Coach a regional championship. I knew that's something that he definitely deserved. But at the same time, it was just a really fun senior year for me that we were able to compete with a lot of really good teams. Got within, took GET to overtime that year, and even knocked off number 3 in state, Westby, by 30 at home. So yeah, just moments like that just really bring back good memories of my senior year there.
Boy, I can tell, and of course I officiated so many of your games. You probably don't want to remember those, but you certainly were outstanding, and there's no question that you left a legacy. And now you move on to another chapter in your life, and with you, Christian, being a senior, you have finished your career. And I was reading an article about you in senior night, in a big win, and it was something I'm sure that will forever be inside of your heart. Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to really go out with a bang. It was a tough moment because I knew we weren't going to the playoffs this year, so I really needed something to end on in a strong note. So, just going into that game, Benedictine, number 1 in conference, they could not afford to lose that game against us. We had nothing to lose. So we came out hot. He actually started our 4 seniors that night. 2 of those guys didn't see playing time the entire year. So, we were going into it saying, well, if we can start hot with our 4 seniors starting, I think it gives us a really good chance. And we shot 50% from the floor that game. I was hitting shots that I didn't really think I could make. So it was just a really fun game. I've watched it about 4 to 5 times after that with our broadcast, just reflecting on it, and it was just the entire moment of our crowd got into it as well.
Well, I know you were well respected by the entire student body of fans and so on, and you were a captain. What was your role as a captain on that team?
Yeah, I'd really say that we had a bunch of young players come in. I think that they looked up to me in a standpoint that I can be with them outside of basketball, not just in the gym. So we would hang out outside of the game all the time, on weekends at my house, just hanging out, just getting to know each other better, enjoying team bonding moments. So my role as a captain was really to get guys together outside of the game and become friends, because it is more than a game. In college, going to a Division III school, it has to be fun. It's as fun as you make it, So if you're not really close with the guys in your team, you're probably not going to enjoy that moment. So
another testament to your accomplishments and your contributions and your character is receiving the Approach Award. Talk about that.
Yeah, the Approach Award is something that Coach Anundson brought forth this year. In the previous years, it was the MVP award, the 6th Man of the Year award, or the Most Improved Player. This year, it was the Gratefulness Award and the Approach Award, for example. So he talked about Manu Ginobili in the NBA. That's the award that he was given by the Spurs. Just getting every game, going to every practice with an approach to get better. Don't take any moment for granted, and that's something that I really took pride in all year long. So.
And of course, and Collin, as a junior, all conference for 3 years. You're over 1,000 points your sophomore year, and you're on track to maybe be the leading scorer in the history of Wisconsin Lutheran College basketball, and right up there in the entire conference. And it must have been emotional for you too, scoring, I believe, 30 points in that senior night in honor of maybe your brother was on your mind too in that game.
It did hit me a little bit that this was like probably the last, like we had one game after that, so this would have been the last time I'm ever going to play with him. So we came out with a little more of an edge that night. Just it really hit me right after that game.
And you scored, well, that's the game you scored 30 points. You averaged 21 points a game, and you were on, out of the 25 games you played, 24 of those 25, you were in double figures, NAC leader in free throw makes. So you mean you are basically achieving perhaps all the goals you've set for yourself?
When I came in freshman year, I didn't really know what to expect. I just wanted to get like in the rotation, but once I started scoring a little bit more, I had like, after I scored my 1,000 point, I was like, why can't I score my 2,000 point? Why can't I be the school's all-time leading scorer? So I mean, those goals are in the back of my mind, but I just want to focus on winning, and if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I just want to win, so that's what my approach is.
And Ben, as a freshman, you had an injury which sidelined you for a great deal of your freshman year.
Yeah, it was a tough timing because it was really starting when I was starting to hit my stride. The game was slowing down for me a lot more. The biggest thing for me, I knew I had the skill set that the guys above me had, but the physicality part of it, I just wasn't quite there yet. So that's going to be my biggest focus this offseason. But yeah, the broken hand definitely did hurt a little bit because it was when I was starting to get into the rotation and starting to figure things out. But look to have a big sophomore year.
You will too. Well, we're going to step aside for a minute. When we come back, more with the Kennedy boys as we catch up. Now college athletes at Wisconsin Lutheran.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team
who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, your comfort is our business.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. This week we're catching up with the Kennedy boys. You know that name? Famous athletes from Luther High School. Christian, Collin, Ben Kennedy. Now outstanding student athletes at Wisconsin Lutheran College in Milwaukee. Well, great first half interview. When we went to break, we were talking, Ben, about your injury, which sidelined you for much of your freshman season. When you look ahead to your goals, following the footsteps of Collin and Christian, what do you have in mind?
I know we got a lot of really good recruits coming in. Our coach, he's a really good recruiter, so I know we're going to have a really good team set up. So that's really the biggest thing for me, is just putting a good team together for my junior and senior year that we can compete. The main goal is try to get in the NCAA tournament or win our conference. But for myself individually is really just look for a lot what Collin's done, trying to just compete against him every day in practice, just get better and just really just learn from him.
What made you guys decide to go together to Wisconsin Lutheran?
So it really kind of started when I was a sophomore at Viterbo. I was looking for a change, and I reached out to Coach Skip Noon, who had recruited me rather hard when I was a senior. He came to a bunch of my games. So I reached out to him, and I kind of asked him, if there was an opportunity open for both Collin and I to go there. So I was really talking to Collin a little bit. He was getting recruited by multiple schools when he was a senior. And then he and I just kind of had this conversation. I remember it still to this day, just over text, and said, let's go play. Let's go, really start something at Wisconsin Lutheran, because, it's a shot for us to build something and build a program there as well. So that's what started it. We made it happen, and I arrived. It would have been my junior year, and I got an extra year of eligibility because of it. So Collin and I arrived basically as freshmen at Wisconsin Lutheran, and Ben followed.
Has there ever been 3 brothers playing on the same team in the history of Wisconsin Lutheran college basketball?
I don't believe so, no.
And of course, Collin, you had many colleges, I know, looking at you. Was that a hard decision?
It was, because like I have some friends that play in like the WEAC, like the UW system, and like Cannon O'Haron, like he didn't see playing time till his junior year. So I mean, I wanted to go somewhere where I could play right away and make an impact, because I knew if I went to like a UWL, like it'd be a lot tougher for me to play right away. So I just knew if I went here, I knew I would get my shot, and I just wanted to play right away.
Well, maybe our viewers don't know much about the NAC, the Division III Conference, which is comprised of private institutions, one in Illinois and the rest in the Milwaukee area, Alverno, you have Edgewood, Lakeland, and so on. Describe for our viewers what that conference is all about.
It's very competitive. Benedictine, my freshman year, they were runner-up in the nation. So I mean, it's very, very competitive. Like, if there's like the top half of our conference could compete in like the WEAC conference. So I think like there's very good teams, very good athletes, like in Division III. So I mean, you can't really look down on. Just because someone goes Division III is very, very competitive.
Well, Ben, a lot of athletes struggle with the transition from high school to college. Their goals are to play collegiately, and then they get lost in the shuffle. Things happen. They're homesick and whatever. And they don't understand the competitive level of even D3, like Collin just indicated. How difficult a transition was that for you?
Like I said before, like the hardest part for me was the physicality level coming in. So in high school, I didn't have problems with pushing anyone around or posting up against anyone. And immediately, first day of practice, I go in, I've got 3 post players that are 30 pounds stronger than me. So definitely going to have to work on just getting bigger. But yeah, it was very competitive physically.
Coach Onison said about you that you have a strong passion for the game, great communication skills. You were sidelined with an injury, but you learned a great deal from sitting on the sidelines. What did you learn?
Just what it takes to compete at the college level. I didn't really completely understand that when I came in. So now this offseason, like I know what it's going to have to take to really even see the floor next year and just compete to be in the rotation and be able to be out there.
Collin, as a junior, here's what your coach Onison said about you. You have a great spirit. You're humble. You have an infectious personality. You're a hard worker. You're a leader. You're, as we said in the first half of the show, you're on tap to be one of the best players that ever played there. Pretty lofty statement.
It's hard. It's a lot to think about. I never thought this would be happening. Like coming in, I just wanted to play. But I mean, Coach Onison has a lot to say about me, so I respect that. I just want to leave my impact on the school, because I do know like a few of the leading scorers, and I do have a good relationship with them. So if that is to happen, I would be very humbled to be in that situation.
And of course, leaving the program, your coach said this about you, Christian. He said you have a high basketball IQ. You're a great leader, and you're a tremendous example for others. That's pretty lofty also.
It's funny because, you know, when brand new coaches come into a program, it's sometimes tough for them to reconvene, you know, and get acclimated with a new team. And Coach Onison did a great job right off the bat. He's such a personable coach to get to know, very easy to talk to. And in my situation, you know, I had 1 year with him. So it was really him and I building that relationship constantly, talking to each other. He had an open door policy. You could really go in and talk to him whenever he wanted, whenever you wanted. And yeah, the things that he said about me, we've worked really hard to get to that point, because I don't think he knew that I was a leader on that team, because the previous year I was a role player. I was a role player again this year, but I don't think he knew, you know, that I was as vocal as I am. So we got to know each other very well, and I respect that.
Let's move off the court for a minute to some personal things and some philosophical things. Well, at Luther, the mission statement is to enhance your spiritual journey and really look at Christian leadership opportunities and so on. At Luther and at Wisconsin Lutheran, very similar. Starting with you, Christian, explain and share with the viewers your spiritual journey and how it's changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been blessed to be in a situation where I've been in a private institution my entire life, and they really care about your spiritual well-being. They care about your academic well-being and your athletic well-being. But at Luther High School and both Wisconsin Lutheran, you're a student athlete, before you're just an athlete. And that's something that, it starts with your spiritual well-being. So we start with the thought of the day. We pray before games. It's something that just keeps us all together, and we're striving for one goal and really understanding why we're here,
Spiritual growth, enlightenment, change, improvement. You seen it?
Just being around other individuals on our team who have like a Christian background is really important, and like the way I look at things, like at Luther, all of us we believe the same, and then in college, you have the same beliefs, and I think that's really important.
And Ben, you've obviously transformed a little bit too in your spiritual growth.
Yeah, like Christian said, just being around people that are just believing the same thing as you do is really something special. And at Wisconsin Lutheran, I can get as much attention as I need, both in academics. I can go see a professor anytime I want to, and they'll take time out of their day. So I've just been really blessed to be able to be in that kind of a situation my entire life.
You've, all of us have talents, and the Lord gave you some special talents, and you've used those. Is that your philosophy of life?
Yeah, I definitely see that. We've all been blessed athletically, so the way I look at it is just we really got to work really hard to use the talents the best way we can.
And your philosophy of life, Collin, too, has something to do with growing both athletically, academically, spiritually, and leading others.
Growing as a person is really important. I mean, the impact you have is 4 years in college. Who you surround yourself with develops what kind of person you're going to become, I think. So,
Christian, favorite saying? What would that be to describe you?
Oh, man. Let's see, what did I write down? And
well, if somebody's with you, who can be against you? I think that's part of it,
right. It was, if God is with us, who can be against us? I actually have it. That is a tattoo in both of my arms right now. So it's something that really is a backbone to what we all believe in. I think my job as the older brother is to really develop these guys, make sure that they're on the right path, and I would hate to see it go the other way. So
rapid fire drill, you ready? What's ahead in the next chapter of your life, Christian?
Right now, there are a few questions that have to be answered. I'm interviewing at 2 different jobs right now, so I'm waiting to hear back from both of them. But I want to be in a senior sales position at a company that I have the opportunity, to be in a leadership role, to be able to grow down the road.
Of course, in the family business is Lewiston Monument, one of our sponsors to our broadcasts, and Bernie Kennedy and the family. What great people they are, and what's ahead 10 years from now? Where will Collin Kennedy be?
In a few years after I graduate college, I want to play. The possibility of trying to play overseas will be something I come across. So if I can do that for a few years, I'd be very, very blessed.
Would you take your favorite referee with you over there?
I'd take my favorite referee. I don't know if I need those calls. I don't know. Yeah, that would be a great experience. And then trying to see what I can do with my major, maybe staying around in Milwaukee for a few years, and then probably 10 years from now working for my parents' business.
Yeah, and will there be room for Ben Kennedy at Lewiston Monument someday, too?
We'll find a back room for him.
I don't know if you guys caught that, but his loving brother Collin said put him in the back room. I don't think you want to be in the back room, do you?
No, I don't want to be in the back room.
You want him in the back room. So you want to be in the front row, but Dad is willing to give that up to the boys at some point?
Yeah.
In about 20 years or so?
Yeah, I don't know when he's going to stop. I don't know if he plans on it, but he definitely wants to see us all there in the future.
What a big part of your success story as we close the show. Family. Wow. Mom and dad, sister, now a tremendous student athlete at Lutheran. She'll go on to play college. Family, a big part of who you are?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
And Dad and Mom at nearly every game, if not every game?
Yeah, every game.
Driving all over the country and then driving back the same night?
Yeah, I don't know why they don't stay overnight. Honestly, it would make more sense.
There was one instance during the season, I have to bring it up. It was a snowstorm. We were playing down at Dominican, which is in Illinois, about the middle of the state. And Dad leaves at 10 a.m. on a Saturday for a 4 o'clock game, I think, just to beat the snow. And it turns out that, I'm sorry, it was a Wednesday, so it was a school day, work day. So we get a call, or we get told from our coach that the game is going to be postponed. And Dad's about a half an hour away from the gym before we leave campus. So I have to make the phone call to him and tell him, Dad, turn around. Man, it's postponed. So one of the toughest phone calls I had to make.
Yeah, I can imagine that reaction.
Like, I enjoy driving.
Well, yeah, but anyway, what a pleasure to have the Kennedy boys back on the show, and this has been one of our better shows. And again, catching up with Christian, Collin, and Ben Kennedy. Thanks for coming, guys. We really appreciate that.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back with some closing thoughts right after this.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team.
Who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning. Your comfort is our business.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. Boy, it was great to catch up with Christian, Collin, and Ben Kennedy this week on our show. They're truly taking their skills to a new level at Wisconsin Lutheran College in Milwaukee. We continue to broaden our lists of guests here on Seven Rivers Sports. If you have a thought on a guest or a topic, we'd certainly love to hear from you. Next week, an in-depth look at the career of both Dwayne Veek and Gary Johnson, recently retired coaches at Holman High School. Wow, that's going to be a great show. Hope you can join us. As always, thanks for joining us here on Seven Rivers Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson, hoping you will have an active and a healthy week ahead.